Two of the biggest stories in the world for you right now. It looks like we've got an update on Britney Spears and we've got Kim Kardashian filing for divorce against Yeezy. Also, it looks like someone is back from the dead and up to his old tricks. We're going to get all into that for you today. But for now, hit that intro, voiceover guy.
Taking you on a journey through the world of music, from old school hits and classics to today's biggest projects. The only station that covers heavy metal to hip hop and R&B and everything in between. The sound of the people is CTR.
Okay, so to start off, the biggest story coming out of yesterday is it looks like Kim Kardashian is finally filing for divorce against Kanye West. It looks like it's official and all the paperwork is going to be filed. We suspected this for a couple of months now. It's been a pretty rocky relationship over the past 6 months for the two. We had them living apart. I think it was for about 6 months. We had the Kanye living in Wyoming on his little ranch where he just stays by himself, and we have got Kim Kardashian living in LA. Now, in terms of the details of the divorce, it's a bit early to speculate what's going to happen at the moment, but it did look like they signed a prenup at the start of the marriage around 6 years ago. And what that basically means is they both own their own businesses. Obviously, you've got Kim Kardashian with a clothing line and her makeup, etc. And you've got Kanye West with his, I believe he owns his own record label. And obviously, he's a producer. Also, the Yeezys. That is all going to be separate, which means basically, if you don't know what a prenup is, it means if you sign that at the start of a marriage, you can't take half of the other person's assets. The biggest example of that I could think of is, do you know when Jeff Bezos had a divorce? His wife became the 8th most richest woman in the world simply just by divorcing him. That is a A-level game move. That well done to that lady. But getting back onto subject, the only thing that looks like is up for grabs in the divorce is the properties that they do own. Mainly, I believe it's a $30 million mansion. A lot of the assets in that home, including a $30,000 bathroom. I'm not sure how they're going to separate a bathroom. Did you see a couple of years ago? It might have been last year, actually. They've got a crazy, like, sort of a tap, like, marble block in the middle of the bathroom, and it's amazing. The water just disappears. It's fantastic. Maybe they can take half of the block each and get a tap for each half of the block. I don't know. I'd love to think that. I love to think Kanye West, to say that is in at the minute especially. He's being so stubborn. He's like, Kim, you're not taking my marble tap away from me. We're going to cut it in half. He gets a saw out and he cuts it in half and he walks out with half of it and he leaves the rest in the room for Kim. But I don't know. So on a more serious note, I don't actually know how they're going to split up like the properties, but I'm sure we'll find out. As I say, it's a little bit early to speculate what is going to happen. In terms of the children, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a simple process with the children. Obviously, both of them don't want to be single parents. Obviously, they don't want the other parent to be out of the life. So I'm assuming it's going to be shared. So obviously, I mean, in the real world, a child stays at one parent's house 3 days a week, and then the other parent's house 3 days a week, along the lines of that, but on a $1 million parent salary sort of stays. So Kanye can be like, hey, North, do you want to come to my house for the weekend? Cool, I'm going to send the plane for you. Like, it ain't no taxi, it ain't no mum dropping. Kim's not going to pull up outside of Kanye's Wyoming estate, in a taxi and go, see you North, have a good weekend with your dad. No, it's probably going to be chartered flights from LA to Wyoming for the children. But yeah, what do I think of this? Now, obviously it's sad, when a wedding comes to an end, and these two of the biggest stars in the world, probably the most notable marriage of the past 6 years, Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, Kim Ye, they have been in the news for the entire time that they have been together. Now, I think this is a good thing, and not just for the well-being of everyone involved, but especially for Kanye West. Now, we've seen what Kanye West has been up to for the past couple of years, and it's not been nice to see. We've got the whole slavery was a choice controversy that he was involved in. You've got the whole MAGA and him meeting Donald Trump. What was that? you've just seen a decline in his mental health for the past couple of years, and honestly, I think Snoop Dogg said it best when I believe he was on the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne asked him what is going on with Kanye West at the moment, and Snoop's answer was, look at the people in his life, especially when it comes to the Kardashians. And this is really true. The biggest example that I can think of is late last year when Kanye West got on stage and said he was going to run for the presidency in 2020. It wasn't a good look for Kanye West. It wasn't a good look for the family as a whole, as in the children and the Kardashian family, just because you've got this guy who's not in the best of states at the moment, who probably needs to be either in rehab or in a mental facility, just to look after himself for a little bit. Should be on some medication. He's got bipolar, and he basically got on stage and broke down. Said that he nearly aborted his firstborn, that would be Northwest, not the place, as in the person Northwest. He broke down, and I, as a person who's not even in that industry, I'm looking at that and thinking, how is his team let him go on stage? Surely they know his mental state. They're the closest people to him. They're the closest people to the entire family. How is Kim let Kanye go on stage like that? I know they were separated at the time. I know they weren't exactly the closest at that moment, but you've got to look at that situation and think you can't let Kanye be Kanye in that situation. And I think that's been an ongoing problem for the past couple of years. And let's be quite honest, people, ever since Kanye West's mum died around, I think it was 2009, he's not been the same. He's not been the same just because he's not got that stability. He's not got that person in his life that checks him, brings him back down to earth and says, you need to start taking care of yourself now. So maybe in this divorce, or when he's separated from the limelight, when he's separated from the Kardashians, they have always got the cameras on them. They've literally grown up in front of the paparazzi, and I don't think that's the best place for Kanye West at the moment. But that's what I think of the whole situation. We'll get more details probably in the next couple of weeks. What's going to happen, as I say, when it comes to assets being distributed. But as I say, with the prenup, it's probably not going to be that complicated. Moving on to the next biggest story. Now, I didn't cover this when it first came out just because I wanted to give it a little bit of a breathing space, a bit of a time to air out, because you knew for a fact there was going to be more details coming out after this. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you don't know what the Britney Spears documentary is. You don't know the struggles that Britney Spears has been going through the past couple of years. Let me bring you up to speed. So, back in 2008, we all know Britney Spears had a bit of a mental breakdown, shaved her head, attacked some paparazzi's cars. Leave Britney alone! That guy was all over YouTube. We all loved it. We all had a laugh. Now, let's jump a bit forward to the documentary that came out this month. I think it's called Painting Britney. I've seen it and I cannot remember the name for my life. Now, if you've not seen this, guys, it is a fascinating watch, and it really paints Britney Spears in a different light, and as she was portrayed in 2008 as this absolute psycho who was on the verge of a mental breakdown, and it turns out she was on a mental breakdown, but maybe we judged this for the wrong reasons. And when I say that is, everyone who saw the news was, wow, Britney Spears is a psycho, what's going on, she's losing her mind, she's a spoilt brat. And this documentary really paints it the other way, as in to say the paparazzi should probably have left her alone. They showed some stories where originally we thought Britney Spears was in the wrong when she had that picture, when a child was on a knee and she was driving around in a car. Now, in actual fact, that was, once again, the paparazzi's fault. She was getting her kid in the car, putting all the stuff in the car when the paparazzi swarmed her. So she wanted to get out there as soon as possible. She put the kid on the knee and drove around the corner. Now, that wasn't portrayed in the news back when it happened, but I digress. All that stuff happened. She went to court. Her dad, Jamie Spears, who she's not particularly close to, came out of the woodwork and basically was in charge of her money and her assets. It's called a conservatorship, I believe. So basically what that means is Britney Spears has no say in any of her money, has no say in any of the bookings that she can take, any of the interviews that she can take. Jamie Spears and whoever else is in control of the conservatorship has control on whether she can book interviews, whether she can make music, basically you make money off the music. Kind of fucked up, in my opinion. Like, especially what's come to light now. Now, an update on this is, well, my personal update is go watch the documentary if you've not seen it. It really portrays her in a different light, and it really explains the situation better than I ever could. She's going through a really rough time at the minute. She is in court, and her father is trying to get more control of her assets, as if he doesn't have like the most control already. The judge has denied this, which is probably the first positive thing that's come out for Britney Spears, seeing as though every time she has gone to court, bearing in mind, she can't actually assign a lawyer or book a lawyer for herself because her father has control of her assets. Now, this is another complicated situation that would take me a long time for me to explain. But in essence, Britney Spears is not arguing the fact that maybe someone should have control of her money. She is arguing that her father, Jamie Spears, should not have control of her money. Now, this is because it's been said ever since the start that Jamie Spears is kind of in it for himself. And when I say that, I mean always. I mean, even before this happened, even before the mental breakdown, Jamie Spears was like, my daughter is going to be rich. My daughter's going to buy me loads of cars. She's going to buy me a mansion because she's going to be rich and famous. Basically, the story is, everyone thinks Jamie Spears is in it for himself. And if you want my opinion on the judge, by the way, who keeps granting Jamie Spears all of this, I think he needs investigating. Honestly, you get someone who's going to court proposing these ridiculous circumstances to the judge, and he's just approving it. And last year there was an update on, the whole situation where Britney Spears tried to go to court and tried to get a change in this conservatorship, and the judge postponed it for certain reasons till this September. Why? What's the point in that? I don't understand why you're delaying this. It's already been going on for so long until September 2021. It doesn't smell right to me. And honestly, I think Britney Spears #FreeBritney should get a fair fight in this. And if there does have to be a conservatorship, as she says, maybe give it to someone with a little bit more of a non-bias argument towards all of this. It seems like Jamie Spears once again is in it for himself. Oh, and by the way, in this clause that was at the very start of this conservatorship, he was allowed to take 2.5% of her money, as in to pay him to be in charge of this conservatorship, and that is a lot of money. We all know Britney Spears is worth a lot of money. He's allowed to take 2.5% of her assets. That's a lot of money. Now, concerning this, in the documentary, we had a lot of stories coming out about other people that probably should have spoke up, probably should have contributed to Britney Spears' side of the story. Mainly, we have got Justin Timberlake finally coming out of the woodwork. Do you remember back in the early 2000s, he made that song Cry Me a River? That was about Britney Spears, basically portraying her in a pretty bad light. He was in interviews at that time as well, saying, them two had relations, pretty much being a bit of a misogynist, to be quite honest with you. He's finally come out on Instagram, and I won't read the entire paragraph for you. I'll just put it in my own words, just so it's a little bit faster for you. I'll put the screenshots up on screen just so you can actually read it. Now, he's basically come out and said, I've been reading all the comments, I've been reading all the tags that you guys have been mentioning me in, and I am listening. I want to be part of the conversation where we finally make a change in the society. He said he wants to make an apology to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson. Finally. He's just randomly acknowledged the fact that he'd done Janet Jackson dirty as well. We'll get onto that in a little minute as well. But basically what he's saying is, I apologise to Britney Spears. Maybe at the time I should have apologised for my behaviour, maybe come out and spoken in her favour. It is what it is. I think maybe it's a bit too late for this apology. I mean, I'm not being funny. Yeah, you were young in the early 2000s and the late 2000s when this happened, but at the end of the day, you was a grown man and you knew exactly what you was doing. You knew what you were saying and what you were doing was going to affect her career. You knew what she was going through at the time because you two were close. So I think it's a bit too little too late, especially with the Janet Jackson thing. Now, if you don't know this, just a little bit of a sidetrack. Do you remember? I believe it was 2003. It was a Super Bowl halftime show, and it was Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson doing the Super Bowl halftime show. And there was a incident in which Justin Timberlake accidentally, on purpose, pulled Janet Jackson's top down, and you saw a boobs. Basically, you didn't see a nipple; it was covered. Now, there was a whole controversy at the time. It was at the time there was the biggest fine that the FCA, I believe it was. Are they called the FCA? It might be. They fined the Super Bowl $500,000, I believe it is. I think at the time it was $300 and something thousand, but all in all, when it comes to the fines, I believe it was nearly $500,000. That was the biggest fine ever laid out by the FCA because of the situation. Now, the argument does suggest that Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson planned this and didn't tell anyone they was going to do it. Justin Timberlake then came out and said it was an accident. Believe it what you want to believe, but the biggest story was the aftermath. Now, Janet Jackson got all of the heat for this, even though it was Justin Timberlake who pulled the top down. Janet Jackson got banned from the Super Bowl for life. She was never allowed to perform at the Super Bowl ever again, and it really, really affected her career. She was on interviews at the time in America, and she was really portrayed in a horrible light. All these interviewers just absolutely shat all over her for it. And Justin Timberlake kind of just didn't say anything, disappeared into the background, and got along, with his life. Which once again really doesn't portray Justin Timberlake in the best light, because why didn't you come out and say anything? Once again, yeah, you were young, but you knew what you was doing, and you knew that Janet Jackson probably needed you to speak up for her. I digress. If you want to look into that more, I'm sure this has been covered far, far, far too much on YouTube. It's 17 years old, but that's just a little background story. But yeah, as I say, I'll put the screenshots of Justin Timberlake's Instagram message up on the screen for you so you can read it for yourself. But yeah, guys, just think about that for a moment. Those two big stories all coming out at the exact same time. And now, let's end on a story that everyone can get behind, shall we? We have got 6ix9ine. That's right, 6ix9ine is back. You might have seen him a couple of weeks ago dropping possible music on his Instagram that he's got coming up. He's looking like he's been in the gym. He's got a beard. Unfortunately, doing the same style that made his album flop in August. By the way, did you know his album only sold about 50,000 copies? Absolutely ridiculous. That's crazy. Just to think about 2 years ago when he was probably the biggest thing in the world, and when he came out of jail, he released Goober, got the biggest streams in YouTube history, beating Eminem's Kill Shot. You had him get a Billboard #1. That was a bit controversial, but his album flopped basically. Now, that's not what I'll talk about. It looks like he's back to his old tricks, and once again, I will put this up on the screen for you, the Instagram post that he posted. It looks like he's calling out Lil Durk. And if you don't know who Lil Durk is a Chirac drill artist who is friends with Chief Keef and Lil Reese. I don't know how else to explain it. If you don't know who he is, then look into Lil Durk's history. It's absolutely fascinating, especially when it comes to the Chicago drill scene and the whole the gangster background of Lil Durk, Chief Keef, Lil Reese, blah blah blah. There's a fascinating channel called Trap Lord Ross on YouTube that really covers the Chicago drill scene, or Chirac, however you want to say it, really well. Yeah, go and watch it. But in essence, Lil Durk is not somebody who you really want to mess with, especially with the people that he knows, etc. Now, 6ix9ine posted a picture on Instagram of him searching Lil Durk's dead friends and basically calling him out on it, calling him all kinds of names. From what I can see, when it was initially posted, it didn't look like Lil Durk responded, but Lil Reese responded in the comments saying, at least Lil Durk basically didn't snitch on his friends. And then 6ix9ine was having a little bit of a back and forth with this. Even I had to comment on this story. I posted on this story. I feel like this isn't the move. I feel like this is not the move, and I think he does need to move on from this whole beef thing, especially now that he's come out of prison and everyone knows what he did. There's going to be some absolutely nuclear level heat on 6ix9ine, and if he carries on doing this and not switching up his style and keeps doing the same thing, you know what they say, those who do not look up their history, are doomed to repeat it. 6ix9ine, you know what happened last year with your music. Everyone got tired and bored of it, which is why your albums didn't sell, should I say, very well. So if you're going to repeat the same thing this year, then the same results are going to happen. But yeah, that is it, guys. As I say, I was going to make a whole podcast on this whole Britney Spears and Kim and Kanye situation. I was going to talk with my friend Liz. Shout out, Liz, if you're listening. We just couldn't find the time to do it. Schedules did not line up very well. So I just thought I'd jump on the video and have a quick conversation with you guys about this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you like what I'm doing here, please follow the channel. We are coming up to a 1-year anniversary. I mean, subscriber-wise, it doesn't really bother me, as in, like, you know, that we don't have a lot. But at the same time, I'd really like to grow this channel, kind of like I'm growing my TikTok. So I will put my TikTok in the link below. I will also put, what was I going to say? All the links to, not the link, should I say? I will put all the screenshots on screen of what I'm talking about if you want to read into it a little bit more. But for now, guys, that is it. I hope you have a really good weekend. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I say, give it a like, follow the channel if you want to subscribe and see more of my videos. Peace out.
Chart Topper Radio.